Thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Wilson, and this is Jaden. He is one of our super techs here at Duramax Tuner. Guys, today on the episode, we're going to start off by doing our how-to around boost testing. Chris and I have talked tons about boost testing throughout the years. Jaden, you've been on the show, I think, a few times now.
Yeah, a couple times.
Absolutely. So you guys are familiar with Jaden. He has a really, really good background in diesel mechanics and understanding kind of the ins and outs of troubleshooting and fixing. This vehicle came in specifically for some other issues, but a part of the diagnostics, I know you did 2 or 3 boost tests on it while it was here.
Well, the initial complaint was low boost.
Low boost, right.
He felt like he should be getting more boost out of it because he's got our RX-41 Charger, and he felt like he should be getting more out of it. So
yeah,
step one, boost test.
Step one, boost test, that's it. This truck does have about every upgrade or modification that you could put into a Roxor. It has the RX intercooler from Duramax Tuner, Calibrated Power, has the RX-41, it has a CP3 conversion kit in it, it has custom tuning in it. So just about all of the power we could possibly throw at this thing and still keep a stock block is really what's been bolted onto it. But why don't you start us off with the simple stuff. When you go to do a boost test on one of these, what's step one?
Well, step one's going to be removing your air intake.
Perfect.
Because we got our Stealth Series boost testers. Those mount right to the compressor of the turbo. So first things first, we're going to pull this intake out of the way and get her installed.
Let's get started. Cool. Step one with the intake. What size wrench is on this one?
All right, so this one is an aftermarket intake, so looks like someone had already kind of swapped the bolts around. He's got a 13 mil and a 10 mil. I think the original on these intakes is 2 10 mils.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, so someone's been in here before, but no problem at all. And then the clamp down on the turbo is a 10 mil as well.
Now, aftermarket intakes on these, there's a few different options out there. Obviously, this one's a sheet metal intake that's been fabbed. I like the look. It's definitely not bad. It's black, it's sleek. Welds look okay.
Nice solid mounting.
Yeah.
It's a big thing because these sheet metal ones will crack if they're not mounted properly.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we get a lot of rattles, right?
Oh,
especially
yeah.
with something like this that we're expecting to drive off road.
Oh yeah.
That bouncing around, that can be hell.
One underneath. I'm gonna grab.
I guess one thing that's good about a lifted Roxor, a little easier to slide underneath and get
Oh, yeah.
access to some of this stuff, huh?
Definitely. Can't complain about that. Makes it pretty easy to do right there in your driveway if you have to. So you got the EGR reference line and then the PCV line, and no MAF sensors on these or anything to worry about unplugging, just the 2 rubber lines.
Nice and easy.
Pull that guy out. And then we're ready to install our boost tester.
All right, so the boost tester, walk me through this piece here. What do we got?
So it's just a puck inside of a, what do you call it, a boot here?
Yeah.
All it does is got a nice ridge machined on there, so there's no way this puck can pop out under the pressure, because you want to give it at least 20 psi.
Okay.
Because they run around 25, 26, so if you can hold 20, you should be safe.
Gotcha.
Because sometimes you won't, you might sound perfectly sealed at 10 psi. You hit 15 and all of a sudden, never fails.
Yeah, you start pushing those little leaks open. That's something that I think a lot of guys, tend to miss is you see, hey, I got peak boost or I'm not getting enough boost, right? So like you immediately go right into it and say, okay, well, what does it hold at 10?
Yeah.
And that's about, I think, especially on one of these, is what most guys are going to see under normal conditions.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And then it's once you start putting more load on it, you hook a trailer to it, or if you really start to, give it the beans,
yeah,
that's when we're going to start to expose some of those problems.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because that's when your boost levels are really going to be at their max.
All right, so intake's off, and then this should just slide right on, maybe a little bit of wiggling to get it to fit. It's not the bullshit worm drive. You're not in there with a flat head, so you're going to wrench these down, real solid clamps and everything like that.
Yeah, we recommend you torque them down to about 90 inch-pounds.
Okay.
Because, the last thing you want is you hit 20 psi and that boost tester comes flying out at you, because pressurized air is violent.
Yeah, absolutely, good call. All right, so you're gonna bring that up, you said 91 inch-pounds?
Yeah, 90.
90.
I think it's printed on the face. I'm pretty sure it's 89, so when you talk about the accuracy of these things. One thing you might run into is the orientation on the clamp itself might come in contact with the compressor housing. You might just have to rotate it to a better spot.
Oh yeah, that's a good heads up.
Yeah, because it flares out towards the mouth here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it gets real fat at the top here. And if the clamp's coming out this way, it's not going to seat properly. It didn't get very tight with the...
All right, so now we got the actual adapter onto the face of the turbo. Now, one of the cool things about the boost tester with the Stealth boost tester is that we're actually testing whether or not that compressor cover is going to hold air. And we're also testing the connection from the turbo to the hot side intercooler pipe, which on these, technically there is no intercooler that comes from the factory. This truck has had one added to it.
Yes.
But there, of course, still is the hot side pipe that we have to deal with here.
Well, the nice thing too is typically when you boost test, you would go through the turbo outlet. So then there's the seal from the turbo outlet boot to the pipe that is not really being checked because you're disconnecting it for the test. And then the turbo face, like you said, itself could leak.
Now, I will say the older style of boost testers where you do just plug into the pipe out of the turbo outlet, do you think it's faster to do that test?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is it worth it?
I mean, if just as like we recommend doing a boost test pretty much every oil change. If you're just doing that just to, kind of like as a precaution, I'd say, yeah, I mean, I don't see a harm in that. But if you really want to go in depth and make sure you've checked all your boxes, this is the only way to check the entire air system.
I like it. Cool. All right, so connecting the regulator. Now, this is a high-quality HD regulator.
Oh, yeah.
This one we sourced to make sure that we had the absolute most premium version of a regulator we could.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever used a really shitty regulator for something like this?
Oh, yeah. I have used lots of shitty regulators. These are probably some of the nicest ones I've used for kind of this stuff, because usually one drop with this thing and you're going to throw the accuracy off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these got the nice rubber boots on them, so they're more protected, but yeah, I mean, the fact that we provide these is probably really nice.
But this is where the other end of the quality comes in.
Yes, 100%. Because, I mean, you can have the tightest seal in the world on your turbo. If your gauge isn't accurate, then, I mean, what's it good for?
Gotcha. Love it. All right, man. Yeah, let's get it rolling.
We'll get her plugged in. It's a quick release style, so it comes already loaded back the second you clip it.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I said, it's already, the locking collar is locked down when there's nothing in it. So once you push it into the fitting, you'll hear the click. And then make sure your valve is closed before you plug it to shop air.
Okay.
Because we don't know where the last guy left the regulator set to, and the last thing you want to do is send 120 psi through this thing.
Jesus.
We'll grab our airline. Screw it up. And then should I show this?
Yep.
So you want to slowly open your valve to get an idea. Unclip your regulator so you can adjust as needed. I like to bring it to about 15 psi regulated, open the valve all the way, and then slowly bring it up.
Seems like we're holding. I don't hear any giant, really loud hisses, which is one of the guaranteed spots of finding a boost leak. Now, the other way to watch it is to actually, once you finally set it at the 2025 mark, wherever you're going to land with that vehicle, is to watch how fast it drops.
Yeah.
So can you explain why it does drop a little bit of pressure, why it slowly does bleed off?
Yes, now with EGR equipped trucks and stuff, you're going to have small amounts of bleed off, plus the exhaust valves aren't always perfectly seated in the head. So I mean, you're always going to find a little bit of leak down, but like you said, the best way to test this is to disconnect your shop, because right now it's got a constant supply of air. So even though there's a leak, if there is a leak, you're not going to notice on the gauge. So what you want to do is close your gauge, remove your airline, and count how many seconds. you drop off. Like I said, it's normal to have drop off. We don't like to see anything more than about a PSI a second.
Okay.
Under that, you should be fine.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, so we're calling this one good then.
Yep, I'd say she looks great. Just want to make sure you relieve your hair before you go to unhook, because that could make a bad time. But yeah, looks like the boost checks out.
Okay, and then all you do from here is get your adapter off the face of the turbo and get your intake back on. Should be 5-6 minutes, and
simple enough.
You're back on the road.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Jaden, thank you so much for helping us out here at Diesel Performance Podcast.
No problem.
Guys, stick around. Chris is going to come down. He's going to walk us through the entire build on this truck, tell us everything that's been done to it, and explain a little bit about how it's used out in the real world. As promised, guys, I'm back here with Chris. Chris, how the hell are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good, man. So Jaden walked us through how to boost test on this earlier in the episode, which was pretty interesting. I think it was a good chance for how much we've talked about boost testing to actually see it happen
What
live.
I think is unique too is like this is a perfect vehicle or application to show how it works, because the conjunction of where the adapter plate's going to fit onto the turbo might differ from vehicle to vehicle. The concept's all the same.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And so he gave us some really good tips along with doing it, and kind of where to line the clamps up, and how, like, the exact procedure of when to turn the valve on and off, and how to use the regulator. But one of the things I was mentioning was that this is a heavily modified Roxor.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what was done to it?
Yeah. So these start off as a 4-cylinder common rail turbo diesel, which is right in our wheelhouse of making modifications. The gentleman's from Arizona, and he wanted to have like the coolest, baddest ranch ride, I guess you could say. So this is fitted with our RX-41 Stealth turbocharger. It's a great bolt-on upgrade from factory. Pretty much follows all of our other Stealth turbo line as far as stock appearing, adds more air, makes more power, and they sound frickin' wicked, right? And then we did our Stealth intercooler piping kit. So these vehicles from the factory don't have an intercooler, period.
Right.
The Mahindra Roxor. So we go in and we retrofit this real cool intercooler. Intercooler sits right here. We have all the piping and everything like that. So yeah, there's that. And then I think the biggest piece of the puzzle here is our CP3 conversion. So this is something that is, we tend to shy away from these with some customers unless they're literally looking for everything and anything they can throw at this thing. The factory injector pump is fairly limited. So, we've seen like 120-ish horsepower, which for the guys listening, that's not a lot of power, but these things literally make 50 stock, right? So pretty impressive. But we've seen that that's where the limiting factor is. This Roxor behind us makes closer to 200 horsepower with the add-ons of the turbo, but more importantly, the CP3 on the vehicle. So, and then some custom tuning to go along with it. And then this guy's got a bunch of cool fixins all around the vehicle to shape this up as a tribute vehicle to one of his family members. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the when you see it out in the lot with the big tires and the lift and the body that's on it, the actual canvas top, it's hard not to think that it's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep, yeah, like 100%. Like you look at it like, oh, that's an old Jeep Willys. It's like, no, it's not, but it is.
Right.
But it's a real cool project.
How does he use it? Do you know?
So this particular individual, he's got some property out in Arizona, and he literally uses it on his ranch and stuff like that. So it's mainly just an off-the-road type vehicle, I guess you could say, and it's something for him to enjoy with the family and go from A to B around his property. So he just wanted something that was low maintenance, something to play around in, and he's got a couple high-performance fast cars and stuff like that. So the 50 horsepower simply just wasn't cutting it. So that's what mainly brought it to where it's at currently.
That's awesome. Have you had a chance to drive it since it's had all the upgrades?
So this is pretty much a very similar replica to our 1718 that we had a couple years ago. I think it was an 18. So no, I haven't driven this one, but we've gotten some seat time. We've done some dyno videos, and we've done some track videos going to the drag strip a few years ago with ours. So I've got some seat time, I've gotten some driving time on ours, but we're gonna get a couple miles on this, make sure everything's good before it gets shipped back to the customer. So keep in mind, we're in Illinois, he's in Arizona, so it was a pretty long trek to get that thing shipped up here. So
absolutely awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for filling us in on it. I think this is a super cool build. I'm excited to see what it does out on the road and see what it does off the road as well.
Oh man, some cool turbo sound clips, man. We got to get it. So very good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Paul Wilson.
And I'm Chris Emke.
Hey guys, it's Jeremy from the Diesel Performance Podcast. We're going to do the Super Tag segment on this '06 Ram I have behind me. This here is a CPS company truck that we have currently been using to compete with in sled pulling, and we just recently used it at the All Truck Challenge in Ohio. Brought it back and we're going to do a little bit of repairs to it. So we just brought this truck back in to our lineup from bringing it back from Ohio. We were there in the fall of last year. The truck really hasn't ran since. We just wanted to get it back on the road. Now it's time. Customer stuff's kind of caught up a little bit. Time to get caught up with some of our own stuff a little bit. This truck here, once we brought it back, we noticed that the trans was making noise in it. So we had to diagnose the trans whine in it that was only making noise while it was in drive. You put the truck into neutral or park, the truck wasn't making any noise. Put the truck into drive or reverse, the trans was whining pretty bad. And then we also had to diagnose a vibration problem out of the truck. Even though we use this truck in competition with sled pulling, drag racing all the time, we still use this truck to drive on the street. So to go get lunch, per se. So those are the things that we have to get in and diagnose, which I did. And we figured out that we had a bad torque converter in the truck. The torque converter issue, it has a triple disc in it. One of the discs in the torque converter was going bad, causing the whine while it was in drive. And then we also had to get in it and diagnose the vibration, like I said, which we found out that we bent the drive shaft in it. So we pulled the drive shaft out, we had it balanced, and we had it checked and balanced, and got the vibration taken care of as well. On this truck here, of course, it's a competition truck. We have to pull the trans out of it to do the torque converter. We went ahead and we refreshed it because it is a 47 RFE. So we went ahead and we just did a complete rebuild on it with new bands, new clutches, new torque converter. There is one tool on this that if you're a Dodge guy or a shop guy or just an everyday guy, it's a $30 tool. It's a tool that goes into the port, this little hole right next to where you get the torque converter bolts out, that rotates the flywheel. It's probably the best tool I've ever used on a Dodge. It works on any second gen, third gen, and fourth gen Dodges. It's just a wonderful tool. That would be the tool that I would say is a must if you are a Dodge guy, if you're going to be pulling a transmission, even if you use it once or if you use it 3 times. The pro tip I would use on this take your time and torque the torque converter bolts. Even though it's a 1600 horsepower or 1200 horsepower truck, torquing the torque converter bolts on it is key. I see it all the time. Doesn't matter if it's a Ford, Duramax, or Dodge. Just torque the torque converter bolts and take your time and leave it one loose until you get them all started, and then rotate the motor back over the second time and torque them. Torque is key on the torque converter bolts, especially on a high horsepower truck. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening to my segment this week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. This has been Paul Wilson
And Chris Emke.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for the floppy dick.
That's what she said.